Jimmy Lakey on the radio. I got my coffee and cream. Jimmy's on the air. Wake up and start your day. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, hallelujah. We made it till Friday, my friends. Friday, the 24th day of October, year of our Lord, 2025. Welcome to the Friday edition of the show. Always good to be a Friday a day because, well, we know we don't have to be here tomorrow. And you know you don't get to hear me tomorrow. That's going to break some of your hearts and some of you will celebrate. But anyway, good to have you here on the show. It's Lakey Unleashed from the confines of corporate radio. And here we broadcast and streamcast together and podcast, etc. And we appreciate everybody being a part of it. By the end of the day, what you're hearing right now and or seeing will be heard by thousands of earballs as we are on all sorts of platforms out there. We're streaming on several Facebook feeds right now, several Twitter feeds, X feeds, Rumble feeds. Where else we're at? We're on the, we're going to be, as soon as the show's over, we will be there on the Apple Podcasts, the Spotify platform, the iHeartMedia platform. So welcome, everybody, for whoever's listening, whether you're listening right now live, watching this beautiful program and this beautiful orchestration of talent in front of the camera. Sorry, I make jokes there. Or whether you're listening later on to the dulcet tones. Whichever one you're doing, glad to have you here. And if you're new to the live program, don't forget, comment anywhere you want to comment. Let us hear from you and tell us where you're at. We have the usual suspects coming in: Laramie, Wyoming, East Texas. I think I saw some other ones popping in there a moment ago. And welcome to everybody listening out there. There's Arkansas. If you're in a state, we're looking for somebody in Illinois. Anybody in Illinois? We need some Illinois to tell us about the big boy from Illinois, J.B. Pritzker. So please help us out with that. If you're, we got the usuals checking in, but so we know we have new people listening every day. Always check in on the Facebook, on the Twitter, on the Rumble, wherever you comment, on the YouTube. It pops right into the studio, and we can see it. And we would like to recognize your existence and your wherewithal and your whereabouts. Got it? All right, there's enough of that. All right, coming up on the program, a lot of great guests coming up, and you don't want to miss any of them. Mary Graybar, great historian, going to talk about communism in America in relation to history. Corinne Clifford, a White House press corps member, going to be on the show talking with us. And Chaz Khan, who wrote that fantastic book called The Ultimate Vaccine Timeline, going to be on the program as well. Don't miss a portion of today's show. And if you do, you go back and listen to it later. It's going to be exciting. I promise you it shall be. All right, I got a question of the day we're going to get to, but first let me give you some news headlines. So a couple of news headlines. Is Trump winning the shutdown? There's new surveys and polling data that continues to show that Donald Trump is winning the shutdown. The Schumer shutdown is being called the Schumer shutdown, and Donald Trump is victorious. Democrats have frequently been able to convince the public that shutdowns are Republicans' fault, but not this time around. Trump's approval ratings have shown durability during this period. According to recent polls by multiple institutions, according to justthenews.com, President Donald Trump's public perception has been unscathed by the shutdown despite Democrat Party messaging that say he and his party are to blame. Data show Trump's approval rating have either held steady or slightly improved during the ongoing government shutdown, the longest in U.S. history in over 3 weeks. Newsweek's tracker has Trump's approval rating at its highest point since August the 21st. But that publication did not readily provide information about the number of people polled by what means, and so we don't know if the Newsweek tracker is any good. A Morning Consult poll from October 17th to the 19th shows Trump's approval rating at the highest point since the end of August at 46%. That poll consisted of about 2,000 registered voters. So it goes on. The bottom line is the Democrats don't know what to do because evidently what they've always been able to hang as an albatross around the Republicans when it comes to government shutdown, it's not working, and Donald Trump remains popular as he was in August. So it's an interesting phenomenon to watch the Democrats how to back out of this. I think another one that will spread around that will not help the Democrats is yesterday there was a vote in the Senate, a vote in the Congress to ask about, let's go ahead and pay the military. Let's go ahead and issue some paychecks during the shutdown. Let's make sure that no one's going to miss their paycheck. And Democrats voted that down. They chose not to help people get their paychecks, military, etc., that are not going to get their paychecks. Have a friend in the fire department. He's heading off to duty for a couple of nights here, and talked to him yesterday. He says, well, I got to go back to work tomorrow and not get paid for it. And he works on a federal establishment in the fire department there, and he's not getting paid right now. So it's not working. Democrats are losing the shutdown, and Donald Trump is winning the shutdown. Does that match up with what you're hearing in your man on the streets conversation around the water cooler? Who are your friends? Who are your colleagues? Who do you think is getting blamed for this? Polling data says that Democrats are losing and Trump is winning the shutdown. But is that true where you're at? Love to hear from you on that as well. One more thing before I get to the question of the day. It has to do with Halloween candy. I got a story here that we were going to have some talks with our Canadian friends. Oh, the Canadians, we were going to have some trade talks with them, but those trade talks are off. You know why? President Donald Trump said on Thursday that trade talks with Canada have been terminated after a Canadian political advertisement, or as they say in the UK, advertisement, used the recorded voice of the late President Ronald Reagan saying tariffs could cause trade wars and economic disasters. Maybe you've seen that ad. I have seen it. Trump, who imposed import tariffs on Canadian steel, aluminum, and aluminum. How did they say that in Europe as well? Funny. Autos earlier this year called the video fraudulent based on the egregious behavior. All trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated. He wrote this on Truth Social. Canada has responded to the tariffs with trade sanctions of its own, but the two sides have been in talks for weeks on a deal for the steel and the aluminum sectors. And Ontario President Doug Ford said this week that the ad from his provincial government, more than a week old, had caught the Republican president's attention. The ad's voiceover consists of Ronald Reagan, a hero to many U.S. Republicans, criticizing tariffs on foreign goods while saying they cause job losses and trade wars. Doug Ford, the premier of Ontario, said, I heard the president heard our ad, and I'm sure he wasn't too happy. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation said the ad used selective audio and video, and that the Reagan Foundation was examining legal options against the Canadian government. The ad misrepresents the presidential radio address by Reagan in 1987, according to the Reagan Foundation. The Canadians are fighting dirty up there. They're riding dirty in Canada, and the government of Ontario did not seek nor receive permission to use and edit the remarks. And the Reagan Foundation says we are looking at legal remedies against the Canadian government. So, hey, Canada, stop being stupid, okay? I know it's tough. You are the people that elected Justin Trudeau, but stop being stupid and stop acting like the Chinese and violating copyrights by stealing speeches and taking them out of context and bits and pieces and selective editing so that you can prove a political point, because I have a feeling you need to know, you limp-wristed jackwagons, that you're not going to out-Trump Trump. And I know you think you're kind of being badass there in Ontario. Well, suck it up, Buttercup. Eat our tariffs and enjoy them. That's what I have to say. Good for Trump. Call it off. You're going to try to hijack and claim the legacy of Ronald Wilson Reagan? Shame on you. You're going to try to hijack and claim the legacy of the Gipper? No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to claim him as one of your own. If you in Canada ever can produce your own Reagan, then produce your own Reagan. Stop hijacking ours. To the nation that gave us Justin Bieber. And I'm a Bieber fan. Don't but I'm just saying. I'm just thinking, come on, Canada. Do better. Just do better. Okay? Just do better. Stop sucking and do better. Even do better with your whiskey. That's not all that good either. All right, good to have you here. Delilah, please remember that I will not be receiving any Christmas cards from my Canadian friends, so take them off my list as well. All right, what else we got? Oh, candy corn. You like candy corn? Do you like Snickers? Do you like, I'm thinking things you give away at Halloween. Alex, I'll take things you give away for Halloween for $500. Do you like the Baby Ruths? Do you like the licorice? Do you like the sweet tarts? Do you like what do you give away for Halloween? And how many of you give away, let's say, full-size bars and half-size bars? Now, I've waited at times because sometimes I don't know my schedule around Halloween now that I'm an empty nester. And so sometimes I'm out of town. So I don't buy the candy early. And then I have found out that I want to give the full bars away. But I found out that oftentimes the full bars are gone and I have to get those little dinky bars. And I give tons of that away. Last year, it was fantastic. I gave so much candy away. And the kids saw political signs in my yard and they were chanting all sorts of things like F Joe Biden and stuff like that, walking up to my house. That's how I knew we were going to be good on this election day. The youngsters and trick-or-treaters were very, very happy to see conservatism represented in my front lawn. Well, this year for Halloween, I will be in transit. I will be traveling on Halloween. So all the candy and love that I thought I was going to give, probably not going to get given away. But I want to give you a warning. This is a public service announcement that they have done a survey, and there's some candy that you're going to disappoint the kids in the neighborhood if you give this away. Let me ask you, what is your least favorite Halloween candy? And maybe you want to go positive. What is your favorite? Maybe you want to give me both of those. But I'll tell you this is the news story. It goes to our question of the day. We're just a week away from Halloween, so everybody's going to be picking up the Halloween candy on the grocery store runs. And in this economy, people are either looking for the value or the stuff they love, that they can devour some of it too. But let's be honest, if everyone is still buying candy corn for trick-or-treaters, you must be a troll. You are trolling the trick-or-treaters. Even if it's on sale, suggestions would be don't buy the candy corn. There's a new report out that 2 candies that are struggling the most throughout the past year at the Halloween purchases, and not surprisingly, the 2 candies that are struggling the most are candy corn, and that's number 2. There's something above candy corn. Can anybody guess the least favorite candy above candy corn? That's the least favorite. What's your favorite or least favorite candy at Halloween? This survey said the least favorite number 2 is candy corn, but if you want licorice, that's number 1. The number 1 least favorite candy of trick-or-treaters is licorice. I guess that includes red vines. Red vines would be this kind of a licorice, right? It's not licorice flavor, but you get the idea. Consumer interest in candy corn is down 9.1% year over year, and licorice is down 13.6%. Candy corn would have fallen further, but interest was already probably pretty low. And so how much further can you go when you're already at the bottom? And not to sound morbid, but its interest in licorice seems directly tied to how many great-great-grandparents still have the teeth for it. You know, your kid, you get that, and you're like, I don't want this. You give it to grandparents. Well, grandparents don't want it now anyway. They lost all their teeth. Beyond those 2, marshmallow candy has dropped 9% in interest, and caramel apples, however you want to say it, are down 7%. Who's giving away caramel apples? You're not supposed to caramel apples. You're not supposed to do that, right? Because the old story we all grew up with, there's a razor blade in the apple. If somebody gives you fresh fruit, your parents have to slice it and dice it and make sure that you're not going to get it. Anyway, skip the candy corn, skip the licorice. And by the way, Baby Ruths are making a comeback when it comes to likability. I always say this every year. I'm a big advocate of the Three Musketeers bar. I'm a big advocate of Three Musketeers. If you're going to hand out candy, I would suggest Three Musketeers or the plain Hershey's. I think are great full candy bars. Baby Ruth's a good one. I like Baby Ruth as well. So anyway, help us know exactly which one you should give away and which the least favorite is for you. And if you were to go back to your younger years and you could knock on someone's door and say, trick or treat, smell my feet, give me some. Where did the smell my feet come in at? Trick or treat, smell my feet, give me something good to eat. Is that what you said? Let us know. Kevin writes, my grandma would always make caramel popcorn balls and all the kids when I was growing up. Small town, I guess, because you wouldn't give that away in bigger towns because your grandma and me have a bad kitchen and she may be poisoned in that. She may be giving all the kids the roofie. You don't want that. Where do Tootsie Rolls fall in? Yeah, I don't know. I didn't give the whole list. I'm only telling you what I know. And what I know is that the least favorite here, Rich says, is popcorn or popcorn balls. Favorite is Sweet Tarts, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and Smarties. Those are some decent ones. Yeah, those are some good ones. Yeah, I like them. Three Musketeers. Anybody do the Three Musketeers? Scott says anything with chocolate is his favorite. What's your least favorite? Does anybody out there, I want you to all be honest, it's time to confess your hearts right here. Does anybody out there still give away, you ready for this? Candy corn. It's one of the least favorite. Does anybody give away licorice? And I'm going to throw red vines in there as well. The Twizzlers, do you give those away? Evidently, I'm guessing that's all they don't break down the survey, but I'm guessing if you're giving away Twizzlers, it's not as exciting because I think that gets classified as licorice. You know, I know there's little black licorice pieces, and maybe that's what they're talking about. But when they say licorice, I'm thinking licorice sticks. And, of course, red vines would fall into that category. So please let us know your least favorite. And somebody confess up. How many of you still have or giving away the candy corn? Do you still buy the candy corn? And here's another idea, a thought. Anybody remember growing up and you had a grandparent or an aunt or a friend or a neighbor that had candy corn like in a candy dish that sat like on the coffee table? and you'd drive by there and you'd eat it out of the candy dish, eat some candy corn. That was I guess that was a deal in the 80s and 90s. People still do that, put the candy corn in the candy dish. And here's the question now that I'm older and wiser and definitely more handsome. I have to ask you this question. Do you think they use the same candy corn every year? Like when it was not done, did they just kind of put some wrap on the top of that candy dish and say, we'll bring you out next October, and they bring it back out? In other words, do they ever put out fresh candy corn? It's kind of like, what's that cake you get at Christmas? Nobody wants the fruit cake. They come in, Corsicana, Texas is a big cake, a fruit cake maker, one of the most famous. You get the fruit cake, and what do? You re-gift it. And then next year, somebody gives you fruitcake, and you wonder really if it's the same fruitcake that gets passed around. Like there's 35 fruitcakes in the world, and we just keep passing them around. Does anybody eat the fruitcake at Christmas? Does anybody eat the candy corn in the candy dish at Halloween? Just a question out there I throw as part of a question of the day. How do you hand out candy corn? It's like giving out loose M&Ms. I think that's what it's supposed to say, loose M&Ms. I think that was Jeff that said that. I think they actually sell the little boxes of gift size of candy corn. I think you can actually do that. But that's a great question. I don't know. Maybe you pre-baggy them. Sometimes people, a little sandwich bag is, I don't know how you do it. Listen, I'm not the logistics guy when it comes to handing out candy corn. I'm just saying if you're handing out candy corn, please reconsider. RJ says gummy bears, unless they have been soaked in vodka for a day. Is that your least favorite or your favorite? Your favorite is gummy bears. Yeah, maybe the least favorite. She doesn't like gummy bears unless they've been soaked in vodka for a day. Yeah, that helps when your teeth are falling out. It eases the pain of the gum when you get older. I heard from someone. No, nobody else. Good morning from the Missouri Valley of Iowa. Hello, Iowa. Chris, good to have you here. Least favorite are sweet tarts and Twizzlers. The best is Butterfinger. Butterfinger is one of those things that never really grew on me. I don't despise it. A little too sweet. You wouldn't think it would be, but I'm not a big Butterfinger. I'm lobbying again for the Three Musketeers. I've done this for years. No one listens to me. The Three Musketeers is the way to go if you're going to have a candy. What do they call that? Nougat? I don't know what nougat is, but that has the feeling of the nougat. And back in I've talked about this before, back in the 90s, Three Musketeers used to advertise that it was the lowest caloric intake of a candy bar. It had lower calorie count, just letting you know. Scott says the only black licorice I will ever think about is my dad and mom's cough syrup, which was Jägermeister. Yeah, Jaeger. I've got a couple of bad experiences with the Jaeger. Yeah, I don't mind licorice in the form of the drinkable kind, Scott. You need problems, okay? What is it with this audience? Somebody's soaking their gummy bears in the vodka, and somebody now is talking about Jägermeister. Handed out that for Halloween or something. Anyway, Scott, RJ, you guys should seek help and go to meetings. That's all I can tell you. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Least favorite Halloween candy. Love to have you chime in on this thing. Thank you very much. Chime in. Let us know what your least favorite Halloween candy is. All right, anybody remember a couple of years ago we had the Halloween during the COVID season, and we were told how the kids fortunately were going to wear a mask on Halloween. I like it now that the schools are sending out notes to the parents. Please, on Halloween, do not let your kid come in a mask. It is distracting to our learning environment. And I'm like, these jackwagon idiots at the school districts a few years ago were forcing your kids to wear a mask and say, if they're going to come to school, they got to wear a mask and a hazmat suit. And you're like, well, we know that at Halloween, you don't want them wearing a mask because it's bad and distracting. So why is it that you think the third graders ought to have a mask on now during COVID? Well, because we were all indoctrinated by the booger Cooney virus and the big pharma companies making millions of dollars. And I saw this meme the other day, and I think it's true. If the media had never covered the booger Cooney virus, in other words, had there not been mainstream coverage of it, wouldn't you think no one would have noticed? I mean that sincerely. No one would have noticed. I don't think anybody really would have noticed. There's people that pass away, sometimes with respiratory illnesses, people with comorbidities, and something gets them. If it's not the COVID, it was the flu. If it's the pneumonia, something going to get you, especially when you have those comorbidities. And think of that, if the media... so I've seen this a couple of times. One was a group of Amish guys, and they said, well, "You guys didn't have a COVID outbreak. How did you stay safe during the COVID here in the Amish area?" And they said, "Well, we didn't watch the news. We don't watch the news, so we just go on about our life, and it all worked out for us." And I think there's some truth there. Well, Halloween, COVID, you might remember that season. Well, it's trick-or-treat season a week from today, so we're asking what your favorite and least favorite candy is. But here's a thought for you. I always love to bring these stories back up because I think it's important that we never forget how these idiot governors and government officials treated us during the COVID season in certain states. Headline, ready? Back to the news. Army lieutenant who was court-martialed for refusing a COVID-19 booger cootie virus shot has been granted full reinstatement and retroactive promotion under the Secretary of War stepped in to fix the slow processing. Here's the details. The U.S. Army has officially granted a full reinstatement to former lieutenant, First Lieutenant Mark Bashaw, retroactively promoted to captain after Undersecretary of War Anthony J. Tata personally intervened to address the last mile delays in the reinstatement process. Undersecretary Tata announced it on Action on X. He said on Monday, Mr. Bashir emailed me about several last mile issues in the COVID reinstatement process. We immediately convened the U.S. Army leaders to address them. At this stage, any delays are unacceptable. We're committed to reinstating our impacted warriors ASAP. He later added that the Army and Department of War were engaging indirectly with Kevin Buran and Mark Bashaw to resolve any outstanding concerns, noting that all corrective efforts are visible to the public and happening steadily behind the scenes. And now they say they've spoke to him and he has been fully reinstated from the persecution and prosecution brought to him by the weaponization of Joe Biden and the big pharmaceutical companies that you had to get the vaccine, and it was all a play for profiteering. Joe Biden forced these guys out of a career, wanted thousands and millions of people to have to get a shot. You know why? Because of profiteering and the stocks and the prices and the insider trading. And it was all, I think, the more further we get from it, it was all what we would call that old plandemic. Seems a little bit more accurate. The Amish here, gave the same answer, that they were not affected by the COVID because they didn't watch the news. And I think there's something to that. The reason so many people walked in fear and trepidation is they watch the news. I tell people all the time, turn off the damn news. I hang out sometimes at a cigar location, and I go in there, they have the news on, and people are staring at it and like they've seen the same story all day long. Turn off the damn news. I beseech you, therefore, brethren, just turn that stuff off. You can get all the information you need by reading. All they're doing is trying to suck you into eyeballs, and the same way that your kids get sucked into TikTok and Instagram is the same way you're getting sucked into Newsmax and CNN. Turn off the dang news, because that's what causes a lot of confusion and delusion out there in the world. All right, another news story. Everybody fascinated by this NBA player thing and the coach thing. 30-something players arrested, including Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups played at the University of Colorado, I believe, just down the street from me. He also played for the Denver Nuggets, so he's a very big, famous person when it comes to basketball legends in Colorado. And I started thinking about this as I read more about the story. It was a breaking news story yesterday morning. I started thinking about, why would you do that? Chauncey Billups has made, if I looked it up, over $100 million in his career. These rigged poker games, he's probably making about $50,000 a pop. If we're not following it all, just had to kind of read the indictments. And you just have to say, why would you even do that unless they had something on you? I don't have any speculation to offer. I don't have any facts to offer. I just couldn't figure out why it is. I mean, I guess even if you made $100 million in your lifetime, if you spent it all or you haven't saved it, $50,000 a poker game probably is a lot of money. 25, I guess it's a lot of money, but when you know that you're in bed with the mafia, and when you know you're potentially breaking the law, I would assume you know you're breaking the law when you're basically stealing from people when it comes to a rigged poker match, then I have to just say, I don't understand why you do that. Anybody got any theories on that? I haven't heard any speculation, but a lot of it doesn't make sense when you are let's say you're a player that just signed a $12 million or $21 million contract, and the guy from Miami, Rozier or Zazier, whatever his name is, Rich somebody, he would take himself out of games. He says, oh, my foot hurts, and the mystery foot pain. And then because people were betting the line on the under on how many points he scored, so he'd get fake hurt. And even then, you're making millions of dollars a year. Why would you do that? Is it human greed? Is it just everybody wants to be a bad boy? It makes no sense. You give yourself away to a line of crime. life of crime. You give yourself away to ruining your reputation and ruining that thing, that sport that you've probably been playing since you were a wee little tyke, shooting hoops down the blacktop at the elementary school. You throw it all away, and you're already making millions of dollars to play it, and now you aren't happy with that. I just the psychology of these people that were very well off in instances that would give this away and do this for whatever reason. Now, Jeff brings up a great question in the chat room. He says, if the mob was involved, maybe death threats. That's what I'm wondering. It just doesn't make sense. But even if the mob's not involved, we all know people in our lives that have blown up their lives or blown up a situation. And you're like, dude, you didn't have to do that. Yeah, you didn't have to risk it just makes no sense. People that no threat of death have chosen a pathway of drugs and addiction and not getting help and walking away from it. I mean, we've all known people that have done things and made bad choices, but sometimes you think, I think I'd make better choices if I had more money. And here we find out, people that have more money still make really bad choices. So if you've got a theory on that, I'd love to know it, but it just doesn't make sense why, to me. On the surface, a guy that's made over $100 million in his career, an active basketball player that's playing the basketball, and he's making tens of millions of dollars a year, and all of a sudden they blow their life up for these shenanigans and rigging basketball games. It's not good, and I just still don't understand their motive, and maybe I never will. Maybe that's how it is. All right, my guest has not made it into the studio. I seem to have that problem, producer chat. The further out I book them, the more likely they show up at a different deal. Let's go back to the question of the day, then I'll play some video for you. I don't like candy corn. I love Hershey bars with nuts, or I love Mr. Good bar. Those are both good choices. The plain Hershey or the Hershey's with the peanuts or the Mr. Good bar. Mr. Good bar is a good one. I like that one. The bright yellow wrapper. Nobody stands up for my Three Musketeers. What is your hatred about their Three Musketeers? It's the most underrated candy bar out there. Tell me I'm wrong. And I'm not. You know it. You're in denial about the Three Musketeers. When was the last time I had a Three Musketeers? Probably years ago. The memories of that Three Musketeers still linger in my heart and palpitates right now. It's beating fast, quickly, because I like the Three Musketeers. Don't argue with me. It's right. All right. A couple of news clips here I want to do. First of all, the Democrats are getting crazy just overnight in Northern California. Some bad crap crazy liberal tried to drive a U-Haul truck through a checkpoint at a Coast Guard base near Oakland in Alameda, and they opened fire, and then the guy drove away. And the police from Oakland and sheriffs and state police were not there to protect, and they're not allowed to by California state law because Gavin Newsom and the California Democrats really want to see a federal agent die. They want the blood on the streets. They want federal officers, ICE agents to die. Gavin Newsom wants ICE agents dead. Nancy Pelosi wants them dead, or she said we should arrest them. So this is how crazy the American left has become. This is, again, an issue that they will lose on and are losing on. Gavin Newsom wants them dead on the street. Nancy says if they're not dead on the street, you should arrest them. Well, now that you're starting to talking about interfering with the federal investigation, and so Attorney General Pam Bondi goes on television and says, hey, Nancy, we have ordered your office to don't you delete a damn thing. If this is the kind of smack talk you're talking about, hurting and arresting federal officers, that's insurrectionist type behavior. And if that's what you're talking about, we've ordered your office to not delete anything, lest we'll hold you in contempt of the Justice Department and prosecute your Botoxed old ass is what we'll do. And here's what Pam Bondi said. We're going to investigate this to the fullest extent of the law. And, it'd be a glorious day to see old Nancy in orange. Not
disclose the identity of a federal agent, where they live, anything that could harm them. Pritzker, same ballgame with him. And, Pelosi got a letter today from Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche. So did Brooke Jenkins, that DA in San Francisco. We told them, preserve your emails, preserve everything you have on this topic, because if you are telling people to arrest our ICE officers, our federal agents, you cannot do that. You're impeding an investigation, and we will charge them if they think they have not met me, because we will charge them if they are violating the law. We will protect our federal agents. They're out there working nonstop, as you're showing right now during a shutdown. These people are out there working to keep Californians safe, yet you've got Pelosi out there saying to obstruct their investigation. You can't do it, and we're going to investigate her now, as well as that DA.
It's funny. She says DA, and I always think of a guy that I worked with. He was actually a pastor. I worked with him, and that's DA. That's a DA idea. That's a DA. And I was a DA. I don't know what DA, district attorney. I didn't know. And then he finally revealed to me that was code word for dumbass. So every time I hear DA, I go back to that moment in my early life where I found out that my pastor actually used the phrase DA. He wouldn't say ass. He just said DA. That's DA. Dumbass. I didn't. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. I talk like a sailor there, Pastor. It's funny. DA. So I heard DA, and the whole time she's calling people dumbass. And district attorney. That's what she's doing. All right, J.B. Pritzker gets called out. He's in a denial. Denial's not a river in Egypt, my friends. J.B. Pritzker shows up into the scene, and he sits behind the astute desk and decides that he's going to say that Illinois is a pretty safe place. Is that interesting? A really safe place, and watch Bret Baier shut him down. Now, Blowhard, or we call him the big boy from Illinois, is going to filibuster a little bit, but he gets called out on his statistics. Bret Baier specifically asked him about murder rates. The big boy from Illinois comes back and says, well, violent crime is down. No, look at your murder rates, JB. I don't know if you can read or hear. Hello, do I need to sign this to you? I asked you about murder rates. JB was off about violent crime. And Bret Baier pulls up a map and says, hey, big boy from Illinois, looky here, top of the nation of all the big cities out there. You're winning, big boy from Illinois. You're winning. Yep, you are. Watch this. Here we go.
Chicago have the highest murder rate of all the big cities.
Well, we are not in the top 30 in terms of our murder rate. Indeed,
well,
our murder rate it has been cut in half over the last 4 years, and every year it's gone down by double digits. And if you look at all of the violent crime over the last 4 years,
here's a map.
They've all gone down.
U.S. cities, 17.47 per 100,000 population. Chicago is number one over Philadelphia, Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Phoenix, Los Angeles, New York, and San Diego.
What I'm explaining to you is when you want to fight crime, look, you can pull statistics up.
No, these are murders.
I'm explaining to you that our murder rate has been cut in half. And very importantly, Brett, and you got to hear this, very importantly, we've been doing the things that are necessary to bring crime down, right? We've invested in community violence interruption. We've invested in police. I've added more state police than any governor in quite a long time. It's very important that we do both of those things and more to invest in our communities so that we bring crime down. We're doing that. You know who's doing the opposite? Donald Trump. That's not what we need.
If you hear from your constituents, your residents, and they say, ask for help. If help is being offered, ask for help.
I have. And I do. And I regularly say, you've heard me, anybody that's listened to me has heard me say, and I believe this is absolutely necessary. Bring us FBI. We want to go after the gang members. Bring us DEA. We'd like to get more drugs off the streets. Fentanyl is killing too many people in Illinois. I want to point out, by the way, in the state of Illinois, we are 19th safest. I'd like to be number 1 or number 2 safest. 19th safest, not 50th, not 40th.
Well, there you have it. J.B. Pritzker in denial says, no, I love the FBI, the DEA. So who does he want? Who doesn't want ICE? We want the drug dealers off the street. Well, what if they're illegals? What if they're part of the cartels? His idiocy is as large as his waistline. His stupidity is awful. I mean, it's just the idiocy. We want to get criminals off the street. Well, that's what Donald Trump is doing, and they're starting with the worst among us that are out there. And I'm sure if you call up the FBI and say we need some help on an investigation of something, we'll do that. But we have a special operation. We're going to get the violent people. All the things he says he wants to get off the street, he wants DEA to do it, get the drugs off the street. He wants the FBI to come in and get rid of the gangs. Well, that's what they're doing. They're accomplishing that very quickly, and they're settling cities down pretty quickly by bringing ICE in with the help of other agencies. It's not just ICE, but other agencies coming in, and they're accomplishing this thing. So J.B. Pritzker is so hell-bent on stupidity. J.B. Pritzker is so hell-bent on just being an ignorant ass. Sorry for the ass word again. But he's so hell-bent on it. He's saying, oh, well, we want help with this. We want help with this. Well, Donald Trump is giving you. We don't like that help. We want the other help. No, he's helping you get what you want, and that's gang members off the streets and drugs off the street. You just said it, big boy from Illinois. That's what you want. That's what Trump's giving you. But the problem is, JB, big boy from Illinois, Pritzker, You just can't afford to tick off the base out there. You have to say, yeah, I don't like these crimes, but I don't want these crime fighters. I want those crime fighters. I don't want that team. I want that team on the streets. And it's just idiot. But the reason he does that is because the radicalized base that he's afraid of, he has to say that he hates ICE. And somehow he has to be reasonable and say, I don't like crime either, but I really don't like those guys. It makes no sense. His arguments make no sense, and he is an absolute buffoon. And again, Illinois has a history of electing buffoons and criminals, and meet your biggest buffoon and, at least criminal lover, J.B. Big Boy Pritzker. And he wants to be your president. Isn't that exciting? Wants to be your president. Let's see. Back to the question today. I've been defending the honor of the Three Musketeers, and somebody in the Rumble feed says, add some liquor to a Three Musketeers, and maybe it could be a supersized bonbon, like their Long Johns with no filling. Why would you want to bastardize the Three Musketeers? Did I want a life-size bonbon? No, I want the Three Musketeers. The Three Musketeers is fantastic on its own. It does not to be corrupted by you alcoholics out there. You drunkards, leave the Three Musketeers alone, because it's just not nice to do that. If you want to do that to your Three Musketeers, you do that to your Three Musketeers. You leave my Three Musketeers alone. That's all I can say. All right, who gives away the big candy? I was going to give away big candy, but I think I'll be on the road either coming or going home that day. I'm not sure. Every year, that's my problem. I never know if I'm home in the evening, or back when the radio days, I never knew what time I was going to be in bed. And then for years and years, I was out trick-or-treating with my son on Halloween. So I've never kind of established my trick-or-treat conditions, because once my son stopped the trick-or-treating behavior, and I wasn't having to walk around with him and all the neighbor kids and go door to door and wait with them. I used to do that for many years, and then I kind of tried to do my own trick-or-treating thing. That I was traveling, and then I had to go to bed early. Then there was COVID. It screwed the whole thing up. So I don't know. Anyway, so your thoughts on the trick-or-treating and your least favorite Halloween candy and your most favorite. Is there anybody out there that actually you pursue candy corn? That's a legit question. Is there anybody out there? I mean, I will admit, if I see some candy corn out, probably been the same bowl for 5 years, I will grab maybe a morsel of it, a kernel of candy corn. Yeah, I'll pop that thing in my mouth and eat it. And then I'll regret it, because it's just it's just sugar. I don't know how they make it, but it's all just hardened sugar. It's nasty. Highway Living says the Three Musketeers are way too sweet. Give me a good old Hershey's bar or Snickers. See, I don't think the Three Musketeers are too sweet. It's that creamy nougat. They even advertise it as the lowest calories of any bar. Now, you may not like that nougat taste, which I don't know what nougat is, but that's what's in the middle of it. But it's very little bit of chocolate. Now, I do like the standard old Hershey's. That's a good thing. And I think those are very honorable candies, and I think good Americans can give those out. I think better Americans can give away Three Musketeers. Snickers, that's a good bar, someone would ask. But I'm telling you, Snickers, it's easy. That's not creative. You're not being creative with a Snickers bar. Baby Ruth is making a comeback, though. Baby Ruth is making the big comeback. Yeah, it's growing in urgency on the candy searches this year. Everybody's like the Baby Ruth. I just saw on the TV monitor here in the studio, do you know the World Series begins tonight? And I thought of this earlier, and I meant to bring it up, and now just was reminded by it. I heard breaking news this morning. The World Series begins tonight on Fox. And I had to pause and think, and I said, who's in the World Series? I didn't even know. I forgot that baseball playoffs were even going on right now. And I believe, if I saw it right just now, because I was like, I don't know. I would have had to phone a friend on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire to tell you who's going to be playing in the baseball World Series this year. It starts tonight on the Fox network. And I didn't know who's playing. I didn't even know baseball was still going. I believe, and you guys can correct me if I've gotten this wrong, I believe it's the Dodgers of Los Angeles, and I believe it's the Blue Jays of Toronto. And so even though I don't like cheering for things from L.A., I don't mind seeing Canadians get their ass kicked. So I'm just not going to watch it. I don't want to cheer for the team from L.A., and they may be great people. I'm not a baseball guy, so immediately it's LA. I'm like, yeah, screw that. But then I don't want to cheer for the Canadians either. So I don't know. I don't know. But did you know that the Baseball World Series begins tonight? How many of you were planning to watch the Baseball World Series, if anybody? I just don't know. All right. Somebody says, I don't think about a Baby Ruth and not think about the one floating in the pool. Was that in a movie? I think it was in a movie. They floated the Baby Ruth in the pool, or you could use a Baby Ruth to, hey, take this. You could use it as a joke with a diaper or something. You could always use it to Baby Ruth. Jeff says, or Jay says, I don't know who these people are. The screen's very small. I don't have my readers on. It's low calorie, but Three Musketeers low calorie because it's full of air. It's not fair or delicious. No crawling through broken glass or barbed wire for a Three Musketeers. Well, there's a communist hanging out in Rumble. I thought only freedom lovers liked Rumble, but no, there's a commie hanging out there smacking down against the Three Musketeers. Stacy says, I'll eat a Three Musketeers. They're good. Caddyshack is the movie that had the floating Baby Ruth in there. Yeah, it's different if you floated Three Musketeers. Bob says, I've always been a fan of the Hershey's with almonds and Snickers bars. Do the Hershey's have almonds or peanuts? Is it? I think it's the Mr. Goodbar that has the peanuts. I don't remember. I don't listen. I know it looks like I eat candy bars all the time, but I don't. I don't eat the candy bars all the time. I really, really don't. All right, good response though. I've always been a fan of Hershey's with almonds and Snickers bars. Snickers are good. Snickers are good. I do remember the time. Remember when Snickers had that campaign about you're angry and hungry, and it's a combination. It was about 8 years ago or so. The kids were watching the television. You'd see the hangry guy on the sideline. Well, I was always, when I was coaching football for Pee Wee football for my son's teams, I was always the animated coach. I was the one, the rah-rah guy. I was playing the hype music before the game. I was the one cheering them off the field, clapping. I was the one screaming, get in line, get in place, scoot over. I was that as a loud guy. And sometimes I was known for a very spirited ballet dance that I could do on the sideline, in which I could toss my clipboard, spin around, and just be flabbergasted the whole thing. A lot of it, ladies and gentlemen, I know this will shock you, was showmanship. I'm a showman above everything. But it was very exciting to do. I do that. Well, one day, this kid walked up, and I'm over there squirting the Gatorade water bottle down my mouth. I'm yelling and angry. I don't know what happened. It didn't matter because I was a showman, and it was wonderful. It motivated, kept the kids' attention. And sometimes I did get totally ticked off in the game. But the kids were 7th or 8th grade players, and I'm one of their coaches. And I'm over there, and one kid walks up, and I don't know where he had this thing. I don't know. He'd been playing football. He just kind of pulled out this Snickers bar and handed it to me, and with a big smile on his face, looked up. We called him Matty J. That was his nickname. Matty J looked up at me and handed me a Snickers bar, said, Coach, I think you're hangry. And I grabbed that, and I just started laughing that he had a Snickers bar, and I opened it up and took a bite, and I said, I feel better now. And then I started to realize, did this kid have this stuck down his sock the whole time? Where did he pull out the Snickers bar in the middle of a football game? And I thought about not eating anymore once I imagined what he could have been doing with that Snickers bar, but then it was good, and I ate the rest of it, and I didn't scream the rest of the game. There you go. Mr. Goodbar has peanuts. Thank you for the clarification out there. And Underdog says, Milk Duds in a bowl of Mountain Dew gets a reaction. Milk Duds in Mountain Dew. What does it do? Now I'm curious. I know if you put any kind of a soft drink, especially Coca-Cola with the Mentos, you're going to get an explosion. Yeah. Sounds like Cam from Modern Family twirling. I almost lost my coffee. I don't know the reference. If you give me a TV or a movie reference, I'm screwed, my friends. I really am done. I can't do the TV or the movie references. It just doesn't work. All right, good to have all of you here on the program today. Are all of our guests standing us up today, Producer Chad? Did they not like us? Are we in the same universe today? Did I miss something? Shaz Khan was supposed to be on the show. Mary Graybar just missed her cue. And now we're awaiting the arrival of Corinne Clifford. So I don't know what happened. Maybe the candy talk scared him off. I haven't seen anybody in the green room, but I should have, I guess, followed up on those triple time because I'll be giving some people a piece of my mind a little bit later and say, what the hell should I do? I'm going to need a Snickers bar. I have a feeling for them. All right. What else do we have here? Sorry, I'm reading some of your messages. I still want to know the Modern Family reference. I don't get that one. That's one I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense. All right, candy corn. Nobody's confessing to liking candy corn. I have a story here that we'll get to, the candy corn story, and also I have a story about the top reasons that we lose touch with our old friends. Why does that happen? You ever do that? My son is at that phase in life. He's still good friends with his high school friends, but he's kind of got a new group of friends because they're together all the time. The high school friends all scattered. And I was talking to somebody else, not my son, recently, and he was like, "Man, it's weird. I want to be with my high school friends, but they're just in different paths." And everything you thought in high school you're going to stay with these friends forever, and now you realize, oh, I haven't talked to them in 20 years, and my life's okay with it. Well, I'm telling you. They've broken down the reason why that happens to some people, and we'll talk more about that in coming moments of the show. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Corinne Clifford hasn't stood us up. Every other guest has no-showed on us this morning, and just about the time I was getting nervous, Corinne Clifford pops right in. So Corinne Clifford will be your first guest of the morning. Let me give a proper introduction. She's, and by the end of the day, I know some of you will listen to the podcast. Thousands of earballs will hear this show and see this show. And if you're on the iHeart app, the Podbean app, the Apple Podcast, etc., Spotify, iHeart, etc. We're glad to have you listening later in the program. You can't read the screen because you're just hearing the audio. Corinne Clifford is an independent journalist, White House press corps member, and official spokesperson for SAT123.com. Corinne, welcome to the show.
I'm so grateful to be here. I don't know why no one else showed up today. It is such a beautiful day. I'm
going to talk to Chaz Khan and Mary Graybar. They've been on the show before. They like me, and I think I'm going to blame someone like their publicist or something. I don't know. It's probably Drew or Sutton or Kim, somebody like that. AJ.
Blame the publicist.
Always. That's what you do. That's if you miss it. Sorry, the publicist gave you the wrong date. I'm on it. I'm going to blame AJ. It's always AJ's fault. Corinne, first of all, we'll get into some news stories of the day, but official spokesperson for SAT123, SAT123. What is that?
So SAT123 is the most important website that I think everyone needs to go to. First of all, the customer service is phenomenal, but the most important thing is that you have to have a satellite phone. Anything can happen. You have to have a bulletproof backpack. You have to have Faraday bags. In this day and age, in all the cities that we go in and out of, traveling around America, just traveling around the world, even using your cell phone, there's only 10% cell phone towers in all of the world. And so basically you could be on a boat, you could be at a ranch, you could be in a location that doesn't have cell phone towers that work. And so your cell phone will not work. And so this is becoming a very big risk because you need to make sure that if there's a fire, if there's an emergency, if something happens, which pretty much happens to me once a month, you can communicate on your satellite phone.
Let's talk about SAT123.com. We'll mention it again here in just a moment. But Corinne's new to the program. She's an independent journalist, member of the White House press corps, and official spokesperson for SAT123.com. Known for fearless coverage of crises and emergencies that happen, based in Washington, D.C. Corinne, let's dive into this. First of all, you talk about things that happen, and you never know when bad things are happening. You're going to need a phone. The cell phone towers don't work. We're watching some crazy violence on the street. It seems to be escalating. We're watching Portland. We're watching Chicago. We're watching overnight a U-Haul truck tried to drive into a Coast Guard center in Alameda, California, outside of Oakland. They had to bring that under fire. Then it drove away. We seem to be watching an escalation of violence, and I don't see anybody leading on the American left that's trying to tamp down that violence. They all seem to be wanting to escalate it. Give me thoughts.
I think that's so interesting because the left always ends up being volatile and violent because really, honestly, the warriors for the left are these children who have been just miseducated and brainwashed. What President Trump is doing, he's on his way to Malaysia today. What President Trump is doing is just trying to make America a prosperous country again. And so why would anyone want to stop that? It's shocking to me. You know, I am in the White House pretty much every single day. And so I do get to see exactly what's going on. And if I really thought that there was a problem, I would tell you. All of a sudden, everyone is obsessed with President Trump's ballroom that he's building for the White House. It's just shocking to me how mainstream media just covers topics that really don't matter. What matters is, how are your children? You need to make sure your children have bulletproof backpacks. What matters is how is your business? How is your ability to actually go out there and have free market capitalism and thrive and, go for the American dream? Those are all the things that I know President Trump is making sure that we have secure. Under the Biden administration, we didn't have any of that. So I don't know why there is this escalation in violence, except for the fact that President Trump is very aware that there are Antifa groups, and he's making sure that they can no longer function because they're detrimental to all of us.
You're in the White House almost every day in the White House briefing room. The press pool is all gathered together. And it's obvious that the people out covering these stories of violence in Portland and the riots that are happening, it's people on X. It's reporters like yourself. It's not the ABC, NBC, CBS. Behind the scenes, do those reporters acknowledge that this is really happening and they're just cowardly or getting instructions not to cover this? Or are they in denial? I mean, what's the purpose that it's obvious here's footage, here's news, here's violence going on. If it bleeds, it leads, but you guys won't cover it. Why won't they cover it?
It's 50-50 with the mainstream media. 50% really don't care. And they just do what their editors, what their producers, they just do what they're told to do, which is a really big problem. And then the other 50% do want to cover things that are real news, but they know that they're not allowed to. And they have to make sure that what matters is what they look like. They have to look perfect. They want to make sure that whatever they're doing is perfect for the channel that they work for. And so our news is very compromised, because if you're going to listen to news, you have to see who's paying for that news. And basically you have to know where that news is coming from. Very basic news is okay to listen to, but when you get deeper and deeper, especially about the Antifa issues, especially about what you asked me, why does there seem to be an escalation of violence? You really need to go to independent journalists like myself and really listen to what we have to say. And it's hard because we're very heavily censored. Right now, I'm banned on Instagram as of about 5 days ago. So it's just getting ridiculous. The censorship is really embarrassing.
Let's just pause there. Got a couple more questions. But if folks want to follow your reporting, Corinne Clifford, where do they find you? I know you're on X. Give us the exact handle and places they can locate you.
So you go to Corinne, Corinne, Clifford, CLIF with one F, ORD on X.
Or spell it out, it's rather on your screen, Corinne Clifford on X, and you can find her reporting. Another big story we led the day with is now we're in the third week of the Schumer shutdown, is what I call. Polling numbers show that Donald Trump is, if not gaining, he's at least holding steady in his popularity. Previously, Democrats have always been able to blame Trump and or Republicans for this. It seems like the Democrats are actually losing on this shutdown. Is there going to be an end in sight? Is somebody going to cave? What are you hearing there in Washington, D.C.?
I am hearing that there is not an end in sight, and I'm hearing that this could go in even until November. So the bottom line is that people really need to be prepared for this. And that's why I always tell people to go to sat123.com and just get what you need in case there is an emergency. But in the end, this could so easily just be finished by Congress. Congress is really, the Republicans are on one side, the Democrats are on another side, and they're really pushing each other's buttons. Our side, which is our Republican side, we really do not want to spend any more money funding migrant illegals. And that's really what this all boils down to. The Democrats want to fund these migrant illegals because that's who they use to vote for them. So there is no end in sight. And next week will be super interesting because President Trump is taking off to Asia today. And so he'll be out for several days, but Congress is just fighting it out right now. And I really do not see an end in sight to this government shutdown, which could be one of the longest that we've seen in our lifetime.
The voice of Corinne Clifford, and again, we'll talk about SAT, SAT123, SAT123, and all the work there. She's an official spokesperson for those, but she's also in the White House press corps, in the White House almost every day. I come back to this media frenzy that it was no big. I mean, there's photos of Barack Obama doing damage at the White House or tearing down things to build his basketball court. Of course, Harry Truman had to gut the entire White House so it didn't fall down. There's been swimming pools installed, uninstalled, filled in with dirt. I mean, the White House is always, every first family almost has an obligation to improve and make the White House a little bit better and leave it for a better generation. And so somebody's got a bowling alley now because someone else put a bowling alley in. Ballroom, but Barack Obama always talking about having to put tents up for state dinners. He didn't like it. So Donald Trump solving a problem, no taxpayer dollars. I didn't think it would be this big a deal. He's been talking about it. The model's been on his desk. Suddenly they see one photo of that East Wing facade and they go, oh my God, he's destroying our house. Talk about being there, because it was almost on cue. Everyone started, this is our house. The mantra goes out. And I'm sure you saw people in the press room of the White House that jumped on those talking points. Where do those come from? Who did they all have a beeper? I kind of picture they all have a beeper or an alert on the phone that all goes off at the same time. They look at it and go, this is our house. And they all just start puppeting it. Do you ever witness that? And all of a sudden they all are beating a drum that no one really gives a rat's patootie about?
Exactly. It just happened yesterday at the press conference. All of a sudden, mainstream media is asking all these ridiculous questions, especially ABC was asking these ridiculous questions about the White House. You know, the construction's been happening for over 2 months now. No one cared until basically yesterday. And honestly, President Trump has a beautiful sense of style. If you look at everything he's done, they also freaked out, pardon my French on that word, because it's true, completely freaked out when President Trump put some cement in the Rose Garden, because it used to be just grass in the Rose Garden and we were getting bit by mosquitoes. And in winter, it needs to be able to have a tent put in the Rose Garden so that he can still use the Rose Garden for events. And you really need the cement. You can't just be standing in dirt and snow. So basically, I think this is just ridiculous that anyone is complaining about his ballroom that he's putting together, because he's making sure that the taxpayers don't pay for it. The construction is not noisy. It's very under control. It's in one little area. And I don't understand why mainstream media just gets on a gang wagon and just tries to attack President Trump for the most ridiculous things. They're not, I didn't hear anyone in mainstream media attack Schumer yesterday for the shutdown. I didn't hear anyone attack Hakeem Jeffries. I didn't hear anyone attack Nancy Pelosi. So it is very one-sided, this mainstream media. And that's why it's so important that you have new media like myself in the White House press corps.
I'm glad you're there. The mainstream media, do they get their talking points from the DNC, or does the DNC get it from the media?
No, of course, they get it from their bosses who get it from the DNC. It's deeper than the DNC, though. It could be multinational billionaires. It could even be foreign countries. I mean, you got to look at each media group and see really where they're getting their money from. It could be from big pharma. So you've got to really assess the situation. That's why I tell people it's time to really stop watching ABC, NBC, CNN. Their talking points are from very, very anti-Trump people who create these crazy news narratives because they want to destroy President Trump, because President Trump is a threat to the globalists.
Yeah. They're no longer journalists or propagandists. It's been that way for years. And people just, I tell listeners on this show, turn off the freaking news. You can figure it out. Watch people like Corinne. You can get all the news you need by just reading a couple of key websites, and you're not going to have to put yourself through the propaganda machine. Corinne Clifford is my guest. Follow her on the Twitter. Get her news reporting from the White House and beyond. And she's in the White House press room almost every day. And you can stay in touch with her on the Twitter, or the X machine, we call it now. One more time, you're an official spokesperson for SAT 123. And in the day and age we live in, the left is very crazy. I mean, shoot, you got a kid walking the street. You know, we talk about giving police officers protective gear. Individuals now may need protective gear. Just a guy like myself or yourself walking on the street, and they go, oh, that's that conservative commentator. You're going to be protected out there. That's what SAT 123 does.
100%. I walk with my bulletproof backpack and my satellite phone and my Faraday bags every single day, everywhere I go. And I've used it every single month. I use everything that I have from SAT 123. And that's why I really care about telling other people about this, because most people don't know that you really do need emergency equipment on yourself, in your car, in your RV, on your boat. You never know what you're going to need. And plus, when you start using the satellite phone, you're going to become addicted to it, because you won't get crank phone calls. You don't get crazy text messages, and your communication is perfect.
Yeah. SAT. It's on the screen. SAT 123. SAT 123. If they ask, tell them that Corinne Clifford told you to call. I guess that's the old radio
Well,
thing
just
in me.
call them. They have the best customer service. We really need that in this day and age. It's in the United States, and they all speak perfect English, and they will help you. Just tell them what you need, and they'll work with you.
I like that. Press 1 for English. Press 2 for English. Press 3 for English. There's
We'll
no other
never-
options. Just press a damn button. That's what you do.
We will never do that.
Yeah.
Perfect customer service at SAT123.
SAT123.com. SAT123.com. Corinne, I feel special that you showed up here because Chaz and Mary stood me up. Thank you for being here, and it makes my weekend. I appreciate it.
God bless you. Have a beautiful day.
All right, stay safe there in the White House press corps. We'll have you back on. Corinne Clifford, my guest, independent journalist, part of the White House press corps and official spokesperson for SAT 123. I've been thinking about a satellite phone, and I had never pursued it. I may do that now. I get pretty good coverage when I'm in Africa, but I sometimes been thinking about maybe I need a satellite phone. Thank you, Corinne. Appreciate the advice here. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. Can you still get candy x-rayed? I'd be more worried about kids getting their candy Bill Cosby. Are there any candy test kits? I don't know. I know there's pregnancy kits and drug testing kits. I'm not sure about candy kits. I don't know. Why are you asking me? Is this like general information here? Like wild cornered animals, Democrats are getting desperate. They're seeing they're losing their power. Is that what this is on the streets? It must be. The ultimate Trump troll that will last for ages when anyone steps into that ballroom. Now, they're all going to love the ballroom. Obama wanted a ballroom. I mean, they know it needs to be done. And President Trump's just getting it done. That's what ticks him off also. And Corinne was great to point out. She was wonderful to point out that this construction did not just start. If you recall, a couple of months ago, Donald Trump was up on the roof of the White House looking down there. What are you doing up there, Mr. President? He said, I'm looking at the new construction, right? The construction's been going. It's just when this one photo got leaked out or put out of the facade coming down so the ballroom can go up. And it's not the facade of the historic White House. It's just a facade that was put up in the 1940s. They're freaking out about that. Again, I gave this test yesterday that if you'd like to know if you or a friend have Trump derangement syndrome, if they're spending any more than 5 seconds complaining, opining, and panicked or posting regarding the big, beautiful ballroom, it's a sign they have Trump derangement syndrome. If any of your friends or you posted, this is our house, outrage, I'm sorry, you have TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, and you're an intellectually bankrupt fool because you don't understand the historic context of what happens at the White House and how the White House is modified, etc. So your opinions are no longer valid anywhere. Again, let me say it. If you went out there and you've been critical of Trump all this time and you don't like his policies or how ICE does things, that's fair. That's a policy thing. But if you spent a moment freaking out, with the phrase I use too much, apoplectic, going apoplectic about the ballroom and saying, it's our house, how dare he, sounded like Greta Thunberg on a bad day. Listen, if you did any of that, you need to go seek professional help. And I mean that, so it's professional help, and ask the Lord Jesus and your counselor how it is that you can get over this hatred and vitriol in your house, because in your heart, because listen, it's making you look stupid. You have, in my estimation, I've got a couple of people that I know that I like, they're friends. And I know one in particular, I'm not going to say names, that posted up, it's our house, how dare he? Well, at first I thought he had political differences with Trump. No, he's bat crap crazy. Just bat poop crazy is what he is. And his IQ, in my perception, have gone way down because that's just stupid. It really is stupid. You can criticize Trump about a lot of stuff, and I've got friends that do that. And I got friends that love him. He do no wrong. I got friends that say he can do almost no right. Got a friend that's pretty left, but he's more annoyed by the personality than the policies. So I mean, I've got friends all over the spectrum here. And but any of my quote friends that posted, it's our house, they literally just showed me that their cavity between their temples is empty, and they're intellectually bankrupt fools is what they are. Because again, just do some freaking research is all I ask you to do. Do some freaking research. All right. Couple of programming notes. I'll talk about Sherry Cree. Let me tell Sherry Cree, then I'll make some announcements about the show. Ready for that? Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com, our great realtor sponsor of the show. If you're thinking of buying, selling down the road, again, selling a house isn't just something you call up. I want to sell. You got some thought into it. If you're in that thinking process and you're like, we got to relocate next year. We're going to need a new house, or, the grandkids, the kids, we need an extra car in the garage, whatever. You got reasons. Maybe you're trying to get out of the state and sell the house you have. Maybe you've inherited a home from an aging parent, been there, and you're trying to liquidate that and get that. Whatever situation you're in, and a realtor is necessary, you need to talk to Sherry. She's really expertise in a lot of those areas, taking care of senior care, caregiving families. She can help you either find a spot or liquidate a spot if you had to move your parents off to a different center or a different place of life, or move them in with you. She can help you with all of those options, and she loves doing it because she knows the sacrifice you're making. If you're a military member, a veteran, a first responder even, she'll give a portion of her proceeds to the charity of your choice because she knows the sacrifice that you make every day for you and your family. Her expertise is way up there, my friends, and is a strategy session because she just believes from her own life that real estate can create generational wealth, but you got to make the right decisions at the right time. And the right decisions can be pricing, it can be staging, it can be how to get top dollar for your home, how to move your home quicker. You know what your needs are, and so she can talk about that. If you want top dollar, maybe you want to move a little bit quicker, but you don't want to give away the farm. Listen, there's options for that. If you're ready to move quick and you want to buy a new house, you found the dream home and you still haven't sold your house, she can help you avoid the contingency offer. There's a lot of options. If you're in that Interstate 25 corridor in Colorado, that's for those of you outside of Colorado, you have the south side of Denver to the north side of Fort Collins. She can help you. If you're down, let's say, Washington, Colorado Springs, that may not be her area of expertise, but she has referrals. She can get you somebody that's just as good and smart and hardworking as she is. So she has a great referral service if you're outside of that area. But talk to her, homeswithsherry.com. Have that conversation. It's a strategy session. You're not going to make a decision on the first call. You're probably going to just interview, ask about approaches and thoughts and timelines, and get to know each other. That's fine. Homeswithsherry.com. Your real estate investment could be, my friends, something that creates generational wealth, and you got to make the right choice to make that possible. Homeswithsherry.com. So if you're in Broomfield, if you're in Boulder, if you're in Fort Collins, if you're in Fort Lupton, if you're in Greeley, if you're in Thornton, if you're in, I'm just naming towns out randomly here. If you're in Denver proper, if you're in Aurora and you don't want to live by Trendy, Aragua, if you're in Parker, if you're in Westminster, Arvada, listen, all those places, my friends, even in Lakewood. When I first moved to Colorado, I lived in Lakewood, and all my address and labels and things I just said it was called Lakeywood. I added a Y. It wasn't official, but it was my official. Everything I said, I live in Lakeywood. Anyway, wherever you're at, homeswithsherry.com, homeswithsherry.com. Be sure to tell her that I'm the guy talking about her. All right. You heard about it on my show. To have a conversation, no obligation. It's just a strategy session, homeswithsherry.com, I-25 corridor. All right. Weekend is coming up. Monday, we'll do the show. Tuesday, I am on jury duty. So I just want to prepare your hearts and or fill up your schedule on Tuesday. We will not have a show on Tuesday. I am on jury duty. Now, if my luck holds true, I've served on the jury before, and I don't mind it, but I'm just so busy right now this time of my life. I got a lot, as producer Chad says, I have a lot of tabs open. So, if I get chosen for a jury, I may not be back for a couple of days, but Tuesday I have jury duty. Usually when I put talk show host, podcaster, and opinion guy, that they usually scratch me pretty quick, but we'll see. So Tuesday I have jury duty, will not have a show. We do have a couple of other absences coming for travel heading into Thanksgiving. So there's a little bit of one day here, one day there. We'll keep you posted. We're going to keep it going live as much as we can. Don't see us on one morning. We have not disappeared permanently. We'll let you know if we ever disappear permanently. Those are just days we got to take off. So next Tuesday, we will not have a live show, just so you know. Then we got producer Chad's going to take a vacation. I'm taking a little trip. I'm going to Africa. We'll do some shows from Africa. Not all of them probably, but we'll get some done from there as well. What else I have? Oh, Monday. We're going to kick off kind of a campaign to where I'm going to ask you and give you an opportunity to partner with us as I head to Africa in less than a month. I'll be in Rwanda working with Legacy Christian Academy, doing the Lord's work there, taking care of God's little kids that he's put on my heart and called me to take care of, and you take care of who you take care of, and that's what I do. Never thought that would be my path forward, but dear Lord, I'm glad it is. It was an amazing journey to get there and work in Africa, and never thought I'd be considered. Some people call me a missionary in Africa. I'm like, I never thought of that, but I like it. I'm not opposed to that. It's a great time. Monday, I'm going to launch some opportunities, endeavors of which you can do. And I want you to start thinking about this in advance. So we'll do the meme roulette section of the show. Stolen memes. Ready? When I leave in November, it will be the last time I'm in Rwanda before Christmas. And so this is the time that we start doing the Christmas gifting, right? We start raising money for Christmas gifts. And one of the gifts we give every year to children there, and we can't imagine that this was a great Christmas gift, it's a new pair of shoes. And our shoes come in at about $20 to $25. I got to get the market rate this time. But we're going to try to buy as many pairs of shoes as possible. We've got couple of hundred kids in our school that kids grow, they wear them out. They only have one pair of shoes. If you get shoes, you have one pair. Not only outgrow them, but they play hard. They're roughing. They're not walking on concrete, my friends. They're walking through grass and fields and jungles. And if they have shoes, it's a blessing. So we're going to buy new shoes. I'll be in the market like I was last year buying the new shoes. But I'm going to ask you to help us out with that. About $20, $25 you can contemplate. Sponsorship is something. I've got people every year I'll sponsor a kid for 1 year in my son's name or my daughter's name, and they'll pin pal with them. You can do that. I'm going to start giving you some opportunities, but what the point is that I'm heading to Africa next month, and I'd love to hand deliver not just the funds that you give to make an impact, but if you sponsor a child or you want to sponsor a child, sponsor, and I will hand deliver the correspondence. If you want to send a letter or a small gift, a color book or something, we can arrange that, or you want us to buy your child a new set of clothes. I mean, we can work with you. We'll figure that out, but I'm going in a month. And so Monday, prepare your hearts for that. I'm going to be talking about this quite a bit and my trip to Rwanda. And if you're interested in ever traveling to Rwanda with myself and Rivers Promise, we have a trip coming up in February that's open to the public, not as expensive as you might think it would be, and probably another trip later on in the year next year. So just reach out and say, hey, I want to stay on the list to travel to Rwanda. And people always ask what it costs. One day we'll do a show kind of on that and talk about kind of the cost. It's not as much as you think. There's tour companies that charge a lot. We don't really upsell at things. We just kind of get there, and we want you to come see the work of Legacy Christian Academy. We take in what I call it the river tour. You can see part of this on the documentary at riverspromise.org. The producer Chad did. We'll take you to where my son was found in a ditch in a rainstorm, middle of the night. Umbilical cord was still still on his belly. That he was just newborn. We'll take you to the old orphanage if they want to say. It's a fun time. But it's also a beautiful, beautiful country, and you're very safe in Rwanda. I mean, I feel safe in Rwanda late at night, middle of the day. It's all good. It's it's a safe and beautiful country. Got a little poverty problem. We're working on that, but it's a great place. If you want to go, contact us through the website, riverspromise.org, or just send an email to info@riverspromise.com, actually, the .com on the emails. So the website's, the .com's on the emails, just so you know. Or just send it info, Jimmy Lakey, we'll get it there. .com. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the stolen meme section of the show. This is where we scour the internet with all of our capabilities and technology. And we illustrate absurdity by stealing memes from other people because we are too lazy to do it on our own. Ready? Here we go. Round and around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. It's from Babylon B. We stole it from Next No Kings protest to end at about 4 p.m. so everybody can get home in time for Matlock. There's the old aging hippies. They gave up Woodstock, and now they're protesting the Orange Man. Yeah, there they are. There they are. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. They should invent a second Costco for people who have been in public before and know how to walk. Yeah, some people don't know how to walk. They're a little squirrely there at Costco. I avoid Costco. Producer Chad loves the Costco. I avoid it. I try to avoid it. Once or twice a year, I may walk into a Costco, and then I always regret it. But it's usually when I'm doing some entertaining at the house or for a golf event or something, I have to go buy large supplies. Try to avoid it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. I've literally waited my entire life to see this. Sorry if you listen to the podcast, you're missing it. It's real life. It happened. The cow jumped over the moon. There it is. I waited my whole life to see it. And now we're sharing that with you. The cow has jumped over the moon. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Hey, there's Kinkles. Hey, Hill, your husband redecorated the office with his DNA. Set this one out. This was a comment when Hillary Rodham Kinkles Clinton said, it's not his house. It's your house, and he's destroying it. Hey, Hill, your husband redecorated the Oval Office with his DNA. Why don't you sit this one out, Kinkles? Good advice for Kinkles. Very good advice. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Trump makes his 73rd visit to the Home Depot since the start of the White House renovation. And see that? Donald Trump over there on aisle 11. We need a dilly whopper and a thingamajiggy that do like this and this and a thingamabopper and nails. Thank you, Donald Trump there. 73rd trip that's a big project. He's probably got 73 more trips down to Home Depot. I don't know how the guy has time for this. I mean, he's saving the free world, ending wars, and he's shopping at Home Depot. Is there anything this guy cannot do? Jeff says he's headed to Costco. Jeff, I'm sorry. You should, especially on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. If you're going to go to Costco, you don't go anywhere near the weekend. You just don't do that. Jesus himself would tell you, don't do that. Don't do it. But Jeff, you're stubborn. You're going to do it anyway. You also wanted to dip the Three Musketeers in booze. Your judgment is really bad today, Jeff. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Here it is, me watching COVIDians who supported a mask and jabs mandates, now posting about resist the tyranny, stop the dictatorship, no kings, no kings. You let Tim Waltz fire bullets on the front people's porch to tell them to get back in their house. And you're lecturing me about resisting tyranny? Shut your pie hole, you jackwagon. You let J.B. Pritzker lock you down and throw away the key, and you're yelling about resist tyranny? Yeah, you're an idiot. You're an absolute idiot if you don't see the hypocrisy of your ways. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ladies and gentlemen, just look at the photo. I don't need to comment, but this is why 16-year-olds are not allowed to vote. See what they're doing there? Delilah, do you see that? Yeah. They're looking at the car. You get it? Delilah's shaking her head as if she's ashamed that producer Chad put that up. I might have sent that to producer Chad, but I'll deny it. Deny it. That's why 16-year-olds can't vote. Hey, look at that. That's a Volkswagen Bug. You know, Adolf Hitler made that car. It's a German car for the Nazis. Yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of Nazis, you heard the Bernie Sanders? They have this guy running for Senate as a Democrat, and he has pictures of a Nazi tattoo on his chest that stood for the secret SS of Nazis. And then he tried to cover it up with a unicorn or something. And they asked Bernie Sanders, what about this guy that has a Nazi? You go say, Nazi, 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 you hate Nazis. Well, he had I can't, it sounds like Al Gore. Everything, I can't do it. He had, there's Bernie. He had a bad time in life. Bad time when he's an oligarch. Now he just said, don't worry about the Nazi tattoo on the U.S. Senator. It was just a bad time in his life. All right. If he's wearing that on, if he's got the Nazi stamp on his chest, can you imagine what that guy's tramp stamp is? I don't even want to know. Tramp stamp. First time I've ever used that in the show, Delilah. Ever. Never said the tramp stamp before. I just did. Around there it is. China. They have said you're done. No more. You can do no more memes, and I shall do no more memes. Hey, don't forget, I mean this sincerely. If you'd like to make a donation today to our charity work, we'd appreciate it. Go to info@riverspromise.com, info@riverspromise.com. That's an email, or go to the website, riverspromise.com. You can do that, and we would love to have you participate. Next week, we're going to throw out some challenges to try to get us across the board as I travel to Rwanda in the month of November. November is almost here. Everybody go eat a Three Musketeers today. That's what you should do. And don't be like Jeff. Jeff's heading off to Costco. And Jeff, obviously, you picked a very bad day to go to the Costco. Need a vacation day for a trip to Costco. And he says needs more Three Musketeer filming. Volkswagen Bug. Now see, Jeff is now just posting random phrases. Volkswagen Bug. Next thing you know, Jeff's going to go, Wapner, 3 o'clock, Wapner. I don't know what's happening to Jeff. Someone check him. It's when he started putting alcohol in the chocolate bars is what happened. Now he's a Volkswagen Bug, Wapner. All right, I'll see you tomorrow. Hey, God bless you. Oh, I'll see you Monday. We'll see you tomorrow. If I see you tomorrow, that's creepy because you're stalking me. Don't do that. Unless you're producer Chad, I'll probably see him tomorrow. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jeff says tramp stamp, Wapner. Yeah. I'll see you tomorrow. I'll see you Monday. Everybody Everybody be quiet. Leave me alone. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.